Oh, welcome back. The UN's General Assembly has wrapped up a meeting on the HIV epidemic. It's reviewed the progress made since 2016 in reducing the impact of it. Now, while most countries have gained control of the epidemic, the numbers suggest that only 53% of children living with HIV have access to the treatment needed. Well, let's find out what is going to be changing after a massive talking point. Let's speak now to Mbulawa Mugabe, UNAids Director here in South Africa, speaking to us from Pretoria. Mr. Mugabe, good morning to you. Let's talk about this wrapping up of the meeting, the United Nations. It has been accused before of being a talk shop when it comes to HIV and AIDS in Africa and in South Africa. Why do we think that maybe things are going to change?
I think things are going to change because we have demonstrated that the world actually has missed on the targets that they have set themselves at another general high-level meeting in 2016, where we had set ourselves very ambitious targets. While we have made progress, those targets have not been met, and we need to get the world back into, moving on back to recover the lost ground that we have lost, in terms of making sure that, for instance, we eliminate mother-to-child transmission, we end pediatric AIDS, and we also make sure that, in fact, we have more people on treatment than we currently have.
What's been the hold-up as far as getting treatment to children, in your opinion? As we were talking about before I started speaking to you, only 53% of children with HIV have access to the treatment. I would have imagined there would have been a lot more money and support thrown at making sure that children with HIV AIDS get exactly what they need.
I think there have been a number of issues, including just some technical aspects of getting the correct formulation for kids that kids can tolerate. But I think it has been largely more about how we have actually dropped the ball. There's a lot of complacency, as you can imagine, in terms of us getting communities to be mobilized to make sure that, in fact, we can, take advantage of the tools that we have. We know we can eliminate mother-to-child transmission, and we know that we can put more children into treatment. And we have not been doing that. I think that the biggest danger today is complacency. In fact, I think we are talking less and less about HIV than we have been doing before. Of course, the focus is on COVID, but the important thing is that we have to know that HIV remains an unfinished business. It's a major epidemic that continues to rage.
What do you make of the comments, Mr. Mugabe, that if enough attention and as much attention was paid to the AIDS epidemic as has been paid to the COVID epidemic, we would have been a lot further along? What do you make of that kind of comment?
I think what we learned at some stage in the AIDS epidemic is that leadership is very important. But again, because of complacency, we have lost the ground on that. Today, we have seen that, in fact, when leadership gets back on track and actually lead from front, and I'm talking about leadership across the board, we are able to achieve results much more rapidly. We invest the amount of resources that need to be invested. Look at how quickly we have gotten to a vaccine, something that has actually eluded us for a number of years when it comes to HIV. So leadership remains a critical ingredient, but also is about communities, making sure that, in fact, communities are central to what we do, because it's all about, people.
In the last question I have for you, Mr. Mugabe, is now perhaps not the time to jump, and I mean this respectfully, on the coattails of the plans in place around South Africa due to COVID? Even though the vaccine rollout is slow, there does seem to be plans and implementation in place. Some people suggesting now might be the time to try and ramp up the support needed for people living with HIV/AIDS off the back of what we are seeing. It's the community level, it's the rural level, it's local, it's provincial, it's regional. Would now not be the time to try and jump on those coattails?
Absolutely. In fact, what we are learning from the way we are responding to COVID is what we need to be doing for HIV. We really need to get people back on into prevention programs. We need people back on treatment programs. But to do that, we need, again, to fight complacency. We need to make sure that we invest in communities so that we can get more and more people into treatment. But it's not just about a global coverage. It's also about making sure that very specific targeted populations actually are actually achieving the targets that we have set for themselves as we move forward. It's about making sure that nobody is left behind. And yes, we have now the momentum given by what we are doing with COVID for us to re-energize and ignite the HIV response.
And I appreciate your time in speaking to us. And, of course, everyone watching this is going to wish you nothing but the best of luck as we try once again to get the attention and emphasis back onto the fight against HIV and AIDS. Always a pleasure. That is Mbulawa Mugabe, UNAids Director here in South Africa. Hopefully this could be the time off the back of the lessons we've learned from COVID-19 to try and ramp the fight up against HIV.